child 5 and above to be vaccinated. That's
in the generic document is one that is used regularly by the development department. This one in particular is branded in connection with our 100th year anniversary, but that's just a branding thing. What the form is a form for people who are making pledges to the ACLU to document that that promise in a form like this. When a form like this is filled out, we see that as that documents the full amount that they intend to contribute and the time period over which those gifts are going to be made.
And is it your understanding, sir, that this pledge form and the two documents after an ACLU 3034 and 3035 were in fact attached to the letter Mr. Romero sent Ms. Hurd on September 9, 2016?
Yes.
And who prepared this ACLU 3033, the pledge form?
I believe that, well, it was somebody in our development department. I don't know whether it was Mimi Clara or John Rusko or someone else, but it was somebody who was preparing it in connection with the preparation of the tax acknowledgement letter.
There's a reference on top of the pledge form, Amber Heard, Kara Pierce O'Donnell, Greenberg Lusker, and then there's some other names. Do you know what the firm Greenberg Lusker had to do with Amber Heard?
No.
And you have no idea why it was sent to Ms. Heard, care of Mr. O'Donnell at Greenberg Lusker?
I expect that it is the case that, well, many of our significant donors have representatives that we work directly with on technical things such as a pledge form.
Okay. And directing your attention to the next page that was attached to Mr. Romero's letter, it also says pledge form, but it has some columns.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that this is a proposed schedule for payment of the remaining $3.5 million donation?
That is what it is.
And do you know that who came up with this proposed schedule?
I don't know who prepared this form and don't know who told the person who prepared this form to do the gift payment schedule in this way.
Do you see at the bottom of that page, ACLU 3034, part of Exhibit 11, that there is a signature line?
Correct. Yes, I do.
Did Ms. Heard ever sign this pledge schedule?
No.
Did anyone
the Elon Musk email to Anthony and back and forth between Anthony and Amber on an annual basis about her, about this gift.
My question was actually a simple one. Did Ms. Heard ever agree to any schedule for the payment of the remainder of the $3.5 million donation?
I don't recall her having seeing anything where she agreed to a 10-year schedule like this.
Let's go now, please, back to Exhibit 10.
Sir, stand by.
Okay. Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen this exhibit, Exhibit 10, before?
I have.
What is it?
This is an email exchange that includes Anthony Romero, our Director of Development, Mark Weir, the Executive Director of our Southern California affiliate, which encompasses LA, and me, regarding the check that we received from Johnny Depp's representatives in the amount of $100,000.
Was Exhibit 10 prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it maintained by the ACLU in the ordinary course of its business?
Yes.
Were these emails prepared contemporaneously by people having knowledge of the content?
Yes.
Okay, let's move please to the second page of the exhibit. The email from Hector Villagra to Anthony Romero, dated August 25, 2016 at 12:44 p.m. Do you see that?
12.
At the bottom of this page.
Oh, the bottom of this page?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, 12:44. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is Anthony Romero?
Yes.
And who is Hector Villagra?
Hector is the Executive Director of the ACLU of Southern California.
And you see where he informs Mr. Romero the actual check is for Mr. Depp, care of his CPA, and handwritten on the check, it says donation being made in the name of Amber Heard. So I think you've testified that the ACLU in fact received a $100,000 check from Johnny Depp, correct?
Correct.
And do you know why Mr. Depp asked that it be credited to the name of Amber Heard?
No, I don't.
Mr. Villagra tells Mr. Romero that he has been designated Mr. Romero the point person.
Mr. Romero is our one of our most significant fundraisers at the organization, and he has a specific portfolio of donors that he and his team, such as John Moresco, support.
And do you see, going back to the second page of the exhibit, Mr. Romero's response to Mr. Villagra, copied to Mark Weir that same day, or strike that on August 25th? Do you see that?
I do.
Now let's move back to the first page. And do you see the email from Mark Weiler to Hector Villagra, copied to Mimi Clara, on or about August 25th at 11:12 a.m.?
Yes.
So he says, just spoke with Anthony, who got off, strike that, just spoke with Anthony, who just got off the phone with Elon Musk. And Anthony refers to Anthony Romero, correct?
Correct.
Why was Mr. Romero discussing the Heard donation with Elon Musk?
My understanding is that Anthony reached out to Elon Musk because he had a prior relationship with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk was the person who first contacted Anthony about the donation, about a donation from Amber.
And wasn't Mr. Romero specifically asking him about Mr. Depp's donation of $100,000?
That's how I read this email, yes.
And if you look down, just below that, the email from Mr. Villagra to Mark Weir, and he says, got it, we will hold the check. That's a reference to the ACLU's holding the check from Johnny Depp, correct?
That's how I read this.
Okay, so now moving back up to that email from Mr. Weiler to Mr. Villagra, copied to Mimi Clara. He says, we're going to draft an email from Anthony to Amber explaining the situation and asking for her advice. What does he mean there?
I take that to mean that we wanted to hear from Amber regarding whether this gift was attributable to the amounts that she wanted to contribute to the ACLU.
Did the ACLU in fact reach out to Ms. Hurd about Mr. Depp's $100,000 donation?
Yes, there are documents that we produced that show a back and forth on that point between Anthony and Ms. Hurd.
And Mr. Weiler, or Mr. Weir writes, I'll keep you in the loop, but definitely hold the check until we get clearance from Amber. Why would the ACLU need clearance from Amber Heard before it accepted a $100,000 donation from Johnny Depp?
My understanding of this is that we wanted
Moving to the email directly above that from Hector Villagra to Mark Weir. He says, we have more folks than I knew who followed TMZ. Here's her latest report. Amber Heard calls BS on Johnny's charity donation. Now you owe double. What's that a reference to?
I don't really know specifically, other than to say that this is more indication that we were unclear of whether the Johnny Depp gift would count toward the amounts that Amber said she wanted to contribute to the ACLU.
And then directing your attention to the top email in Exhibit 10, Mr. Weir responds, she's calling Johnny out on the $14 million in the press. What does that refer to?
I don't know. I'm not aware of how 14 million plays into any of this.
Okay, let's move ahead to Exhibit 12, please. Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen this document before?
Just making it larger. Yes, I have.
And what is it?
This is Amber confirming that we can cash Mr. Depp's check.
And did Ms. Heard in fact send this to Mr. Romero on or about October 17, 2016?
Yes.
And is this a document that was created in the was maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
And it's true that the ACLU ultimately deposited Mr. Depp's check for $100,000, correct?
Correct.
Did the ACLU credit the $100,000 paid by Mr. Depp toward Ms. Heard's $3.5 million pledge or donation?
We do credit that $100,000 amount toward the toward Amber Heard's charitable giving to the ACLU.
Where, if at all, is that credit reflected in the ACLU's records?
There are documents that we produced that show the fact that this was considered part of Amber Heard's charitable giving to the ACLU.
And after the ACLU received Ms. Heard's initial $350,000 payment, it received press inquiries about the Heard donation, correct?
Correct.
How many?
Oh, I don't know the specific number, sorry.
Was this document, Exhibit 20, maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business contemporaneously by people having knowledge? Vanguard $500,000 contribution?
I don't believe we ever issued a press release in 2017 regarding Amber Heard's donations to the ACLU.
Why not?
We received an email from Amber that is in the documents that says that we don't need to do this. We shouldn't do this this press release.
But let's go to 24, please.
Stand by.
Correct. Technically, it's all Johnny's money because it was supposed to be her donating money from their divorce settlement, but he also sent in $100,000, and then Elon Musk
Have you ever seen
anonymously donated $500,000.
Exhibit 24 before?
Yes.
What is it?
This is Anthony in his email to the one we just saw said that his comms people were going to be reaching out to Amber's people, and so Steve then starts that process, and Amber then Amber responds and says that she's no longer working with Pierce and introduces Steve to her new lawyer, Eric George. And she indicates that she has a concern about issuing a press statement.
I've been saying this for 3 weeks, so I'm glad mainstream media finally caught up with us.
Yes.
Was it prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
And was it prepared contemporaneously by people having knowledge of its contents?
Yes.
I'd like to direct your attention to the email at the top of the page.
If you're watching with us on TikTok, if you go to the YouTube channel, you can join the live chat.
Jody Gottlieb and others, dated July 6, 2017.
I do.
Have you ever seen this document before?
If you're on TikTok, you can look at the banner to see where to go to join the live chat.
This is Amber letting Steve know that she's no longer working with Pierce, but instead working with a new lawyer, and indicating to Steve that she is going to be talking with her PR team about whether, about issuing a press statement about her 2017, issuing a press statement about her 2017 gift.
And directing your attention, she writes,
read that to with reference to the settlement agreement to be the settlement agreement between Heard and Depp, but I don't have any independent knowledge of that.
What was the basis of your belief that she was going to pay you every year?
The original communications and her response to us when we reached out to her, and she indicated, on a number of occasions that this was something that she was going to be looking into.
But she didn't do it, did she?
What we did receive was the $500,000 Vanguard charitable contribution, and then the next year, the $350,000 contribution.
She didn't pay you on an annual basis, did she?
Yes, we didn't receive any amounts in 2019 and on.
Let's move up to the middle email on the page. Mr. Weir to Steve Smith. Thanks, Steve. Her gift is technically unrestricted, but it is weighted towards women's rights issues. What does that mean?
What that means is that there's a particular type of gift that is legally restricted for a specific purpose, and that could be that the restriction could be done in a number of ways. That was not done in this situation, but nonetheless, the intention in making gifts to the ACLU was to support that work. So there's that subtle distinction, and this is not an uncommon one at the ACLU.
After the Vanguard payment of $500,000 in July 2017, what, if any, payments did Ms. Heard make to the ACLU?
There was one more payment of $350,000 that came from Fidelity Charitable. So it looked to be from a donor-advised fund at Fidelity.
And when was that donor-advised Fidelity payment made?
In 2018.
So that...
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, we have a document that we produced that shows the contributions that we've received from Fidelity Charitable and the timing for each of those. One of which includes includes the Amber Heard 350.
Okay, if we could please move to Exhibit 39. I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 39. Have you ever seen this document before?
Hold on, can we get the bait stamp number, please?
It is 3037, ACLU.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm directing your attention to the penultimate entry on that page.
Yes.
There appears to be a reference. Well, first of all, have you ever seen this document before?
I have.
And what is it?
This is a document that we created that lists the contributions made to the information in this is maintained in the ordinary course of this business. We created this document in response to the discovery requests.
If you're on TikTok, I'm not watching the comments, but I'll answer all your questions if you go to the YouTube channel and join our live watch.
The ACLU online on or about December 11th, 2018.
I believe that it does. It is a document that I believe our development department pulled information from Salesforce, our current CRM, into an Excel, and that's what this is.
So directing your attention to the penultimate entry on this page said $350,000 designation, donation from Amber Heard. Mm-hmm. What does that refer to?
What that refers to is that since the giving account are the names of the Fidelity Charitable Donor Advised Funds, which is the column in the right. This one is designated as anonymous, meaning that the person who set up the donor advised fund, in this case, I believe Amber, wanted it to be an anonymous donor advised fund. So that would be within her discretion to decide which gifts were that she recommended were her recommendations or not. And so we put into this special purpose category. We marked that this was a donation from Amber Heard, meaning a recommendation from her to make a contribution from her donor advised fund.
So this is an anonymous donation for someone in Amber Heard's name, correct?
It is anonymous to when this donor advised fund was set up, it was determined that the gifts would presumptively be anonymous unless she were to recommend to state otherwise.
And did she ever state otherwise?
We believe that this was that she indicated that this was her $350,000 gift, and that's why we put into the column that this was a donation recommended by her from her donor advised fund.
The money did not come from her, correct?
The money went from her to her donor advised fund, and then she recommended that the funds be paid from Fidelity to us. So the amount that $350 we received did not come from her directly. It came from what we believe to be her donor advised fund at Fidelity that she set up.
What basis, other than Ms. Heard's telling you, does the ACLU have for the proposition that Ms. Heard paid the money to Fidelity before it came and was given to the ACLU?
What we have is what she told us, which is how donor advised funds that are anonymous work. The only thing that we legally needed to know was that this came from the Fidelity charitable, and that's the kind of reporting that we CRM.
Well, Mr. Doherty, I didn't ask you what the ACLU was legally required to do. I asked you what, if anything, the ACLU did to investigate whether, in fact, Ms. Heard provided the funds to Fidelity. And your answer is nothing, right?
I don't believe there was anything else. I don't know what else we would have gotten.
So, just so the record is clear, the ACLU relied only on Ms. Heard, that she was the ultimate source of the Fidelity funds, correct?
Yes.
Because you've already testified that Ms. Heard was not the original source of the funds for the $500,000 Vanguard contribution, correct?
We received that $500,000 from Vanguard, their 501c3, not from any other person.
Right, but Vanguard was associated with Mr. Musk, true?
We believe that to be the case, yes.
Okay. So after this December 2018 donation, has Ms. Heard made any donations directly or indirectly to the ACLU?
No, those are the four contributions, the four that we've discussed.
Well, we're almost 3 years since her last contribution. What, if any, efforts has the ACLU made to get Amber Heard to pay?
We reached out to Ms. Heard. We reached out to Ms. Heard starting in 2019 for the next installment of her giving, and we learned that she was having financial difficulties.
Well, let's unpack that. So when in 2019 did the ACLU reach out to Ms. Heard about making her promised contributions?
I don't recall the date, but there is a document that we produced that was an email from Anthony to Amber about this in 2019.
Okay, let's move ahead to Exhibit 67, please. Have you seen these documents, these attachments before?
Yes, I've seen these.
Okay, and we'll just go through them one by one if you don't mind.
Sure.
If you look at Bates number 4673, it says $350,000, December 11th, 2018. What is that?
I believe this is this tracks with the Excel spreadsheet that we looked at just a few moments ago that talks about online giving through the Fidelity Charitable Fund, and whereas the prior one listed all of the December 11th, 2018 gifts, this one lists the $350,000 gift from from the Amber's donor advised fund. Designations used, and here I think we filled into that designation field the information that we knew to be the case, which was that this was a recommendation from Amber Heard's donor advised fund.
Okay, now if you move to the next page, what that means?
This corresponds to the column of that same spreadsheet that listed the names of the donor advised funds that individuals set up at Fidelity, and that the name of the Amber one was anonymous.
Now, when Ms. Heard made her direct payment, her first contribution of $350,000, that was not designated as anonymous, wasn't it? Was it?
That was not a gift from a donor advised fund, so there weren't those columns for us to fill out. It was just a gift to the ACLU.
What the literal fuck is wrong with this thing?
An acknowledgement letter to that.
Children are being impacted by COVID.
Are you shitting me right now?
We included a question about anonymity and whether we could list her as a donor in our annual report. So that was our first connection with her. So, we weren't sure whether her giving would be anonymous or not.
Well, the first donation
Hang
was
tight, we're
anonymous,
switching
correct?
up. No, it was not anonymous. But what I'm saying here is that this is the name. I believe this is the name of her donor advised fund at Fidelity. And the first time she gave us a gift, I think it came right out of her own, banking accounts.
Right, and between the time Ms. Heard made her first donation of $350,000 directly, which is attributed directly to her, and the time this anonymous donation comes in, did anybody at the ACLU have any discussion with Ms. Heard as to whether she wanted anonymity?
I don't believe she did.
Okay, if you could move ahead, please, to page number 4678.
Yes.
Have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
This is the document that.
What the fuck is everything going to go wrong today?
501c3 nonprofit.
Oh my God.
Makes a recommendation from a Vanguard charitable donor advised fund to give money to a charity. And they then send this letter saying that they, Vanguard, are giving this to the charity. And it describes whether this is the document that would describe whether or not the donor wants to be anonymous or even wants to indicate to us who they are.
And this is the Vanguard contribution about which you testified earlier, correct?
Correct.
Let's move ahead, please, to 4679, which is the next page.
Yes,
And have you ever seen this document before?
I have.
And is this one of the documents
Sorry,
that you
guys.
reviewed in the
Hang
context of preparing
tight.
for this deposition?
Yes.
And directing your attention to the middle of the page, it says remark from Amber Heard What does that signify?
This, sorry, I'm counting the 3 seconds. This is a record of a wire into our accounts at JP Morgan Chase in the amount of $350,000 from Amber Heard's account
And
at
this was,
City National Bank.
and this was her first contribution, correct?
Yes, this is the 2016 August contribution.
Okay, and then if you could move ahead, please, to the next page. ACLU 4680. Have you ever seen this document before?
I have.
What is it?
This is the original email from Elon to Amber and Anthony, describing her plan to donate to the ACLU over the next 10 years and her support for our work. And that she wasn't restricting the gift. She just had a preference about the use of the funds, and that Anthony would forward her the wiring instructions, and then he did so. And then the $350,000 was wired, as we saw in that last JP Morgan Chase ACLU bank account wire record. And so Anthony let Amber know that we received it.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. So the email in the middle of the page was an email sent to Mr. Romero from Elon Musk on or about August 18th, 2016 at 1:14 p.m., correct?
Correct.
He says, Amber, I described your plan to donate $3.5 million to the ACLU over the next 10 years, as you very much believe in what they are doing. You see that?
Yes.
Why was Ms. Heard, or strike that, why was Mr. Musk representing this on behalf of Ms. Heard?
I don't know the answer to that question, but assume it's because of Elon's prior relationship with Anthony and that he indicated, I will make that introduction for you.
He is representing that Ms. Heard's plan was to donate $3.5 million over the next 10 years. Is that correct?
Correct, that was her plan.
Did Ms. Heard ever say in words or substance that Mr. Musk was not correct and that wasn't her plan?
I do not believe she ever said that.
So she never refuted Mr. Musk's representation that she was going to pay the full $3.5 million, correct?
It isn't the case that she didn't object to that she was going to pay the 3.5. It's just that she didn't object that was her plan as of August 18th, 2016.
Thank you, Mr. Doherty. Let's move to the next page, which is 4681.
Yes.
And you see at the top it says Salesforce screenshot. Would you remind us, please, what Salesforce is?
It's our current CRM, our constituent record management system, which is where we store all the information we have about our donors. We call it our donor database.
And I believe that we've seen a version of this in an email from Mr. Moresco, correct?
I do recall that this document,
seen a version of this as
documents that we produced.
Okay, well, let's start from the bottom up.
Sure.
If you look at the bottom entry in the column, it had the entry that has a close date 8/19/2016, completed $350,000. What does that mean?
That's a record of her $350,000 contribution to us.
And you see the designation, the giving name pledged payment?
I do.
And what does that refer to?
That this was in connection with her overall plan to make a contribution to us of $3.5 million.
Okay, now let's move up to the entry in the middle of the chart. It says Ms. Amber Heard's soft credit 2017 close date, June 12, 2017, completed $500,000. What does that mean?
That's the record of the Vanguard charitable contribution in 2017.
Why does it say soft credit instead of pledge payment?
Because it didn't come directly from Amber. It came from the Vanguard Charitable Trust, Charitable Fund. And we wanted to continue to associate it, though, with Amber in our donor database.
Is it customary for the ACLU to make distinctions between hard donations that is coming directly from the donor and donations made by others in the donor's name?
It's extremely important for us to understand whether funds came directly to us from a donor, from a donor's donor advised fund, or from another donor altogether. That's all very helpful information to us as we think through our fundraising program.
So, but my question was, is it common practice? And it sounds like it is common practice, as you say it's important, correct?
Yeah, I believe it's a common practice.
Okay, and then let's look at the top entry in the chart.
Yes.
This is for the December 2018 payment, and I believe you testified this is the last payment Ms. Hurd has made, correct?
Correct.
And it says Ms. Amber Hurd donation 2018 payment.
Okay, what they're trying to show
What does
is
this signify?
her credibility and her character.
This
Because-
signifies this relates to the
Remind me on break and we'll discuss it.
$350,000 gift that we got, which I believe came from Amber's donor advised fund at Fidelity.
Okay, and let's close this out by looking at 4682. Purports to be an email from Liz Fitzgerald to Jonathan Maresco. Who is Liz Fitzgerald?
Liz Fitzgerald's then title was Director of Special Gifts, but her current title is the Director of Development. She's the number 2 in our development department. She reports directly to Mark Weir. And even then, as Director of Special Gifts, she reported directly to Mark Weir.
Okay. All right, and with respect to Exhibit 67, the attachments that we've described, were they created in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
The only one that I would not say was in our ordinary course of business is number 4681, in that this was created in connection with a discussion with Amber Heard's attorneys about Amber's donations to the ACLU.
But all of the other documents in this exhibit were created in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct. And even this one came from our donor database, which is something that we keep in the ordinary course of our business.
And it's your testimony sitting here today that the information depicted on ACLU 4681 is accurate and reflects the accounting records kept in the ACLU's ordinary course of business, correct?
It is correct that we received the 350, the 500, and the 350, and that we associated them all in some way with Amber. It does not list the 100,000 Johnny Depp payment. And there's differing terms that are used in that. I'm not sure we would use the term soft credit. We might refer to another way now. After that 2017 gift, that's when we launched the new database system, the Salesforce system, and prior it had been the PIDI system. So we had been doing some changes to definitions about how we record gifts. But the basic, which is that these are all associated with Amber Heard, these 3 gifts, that is absolutely accurate.
Well, you raised a good point. Why isn't the $100,000 donated by Johnny Depp credited to Amber Heard?
I think it should have been recorded in our database because it's information that we would want to have in that database about gifts relating to our relationship with Amber Heard. And we now do consider that gift as part of the constellation of gifts that are attributed to our relationship with Amber Heard.
So that's how you would get from the 1.2 million to the 1.3 million, right?
Yes, 700 plus 8, plus 1 is 800, plus 500 is 1.3, correct.
So the ACLU sitting here today attributes $1.3 million toward Ms. Heard's $3.5 million pledge, correct?
Correct.
And of that $1.3 million, $100,000 was paid by Johnny Depp, true?
Correct.
So putting aside 4681, all of the emails prepared by ACLU employees in the course of their ordinary business?
Yeah, I'm just reminding myself. Well, I believe that 4679 was also downloaded from our records in relation to this litigation matter. I don't believe that we created this document and had it in a paper file somewhere, but I think we pulled this information, this wiring information.
Please hold, because the bitch really is pulling the
It may be the same
information.
wiring
Stand by.
information that was looked at the time that the donation was made.
So Exhibit 67, it's fair to say, is comprised of ACLU business records kept and maintained in the ordinary course, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Excuse me, Your Honor, we're going to change topics with Mr. Doherty.
Take our morning break.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, let's go ahead and take our 15-minute recess. Do not discuss the case with anybody. Don't do any outside research, and we'll see you then. Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and come back and take a break till 11:45, okay? All right, thank you.
Okay, so let's discuss this. Let me do this. Hold on. Let's see here. I definitely had a muffin this morning. I'm trying to see if I can share with you guys some of this documentation. See here. Okay, so if y'all look on the right side of the screen, you're going to see an email, and it says on June 20th, 2017 at 10:59 a.m., ARP at ACLU.org wrote, "Had a lovely time. Missed you." He mentioned that you may have sent an additional $500,000 gift. I checked with the office today, and we did get an anonymous $500,000 check from Vanguard Charitable on 6/9. If this is your gift, I'm guessing you want me to apply that amount to the overall pledge. If so, we have received the $350,000 from you and this $500,000 gift. Also, I think we discussed that we should count the $100,000 payment we received from Depp towards your pledge amount. That would bring you up to $950,000. Let me know if I got this right. Then if you move up here, yes, sorry. Was not meant to go through Vanguard. I am so sorry that I missed you guys too. I am back in LA to see E, and he said he had a great talk with you. Sorry I missed it. I'm back off to Australia in a couple of days. Hope our paths cross soon. I'm really looking forward to finally meeting you. And then up here at the top, great. So the 500,000 is yours, right? And I will count the Depp gift towards your pledge, right? Want to make sure I code them right in the database. Had a great meeting with Elon. Love that guy. Love you too. So this is what's going on right here. Now, let's see. Bring up another one. Right here. This is what I want to show y'all. Right here. Okay. Dear Miss Heard, I am following up on the correspondence that Children's Hospital Los Angeles Foundation received on August 26, 2016, which CHLA was notified by Edward White and Company, that a $3.5 million pledge gift had been made in your honor. In the correspondence, see enclosure, it states, the first of multiple scheduled installments to honor the full amount of Miss Heard's $3.5 million pledged gift. Since the first installment, CHLA has not received further installments. I am inquiring if you have knowledge of CHLA should accept further installments on your behalf or if the pledge will not be fulfilled. I appreciate any insight on this matter and can be reached via direct line at blank, CHLA Foundation at blank, or via email. Sincerely. So that's what's going on right now. Does that make sense? That appears to be the situation. It appears that she originally said, I don't want Depp's money. I'm supposed to get $7 million in this divorce. I'll donate $3.5 million to charity. And then according to what we're hearing and what we're seeing, it appears that that's not true. She donated $350,000. $500,000 came from an anonymous source, which very much appears to be Elon. And then they have a $100,000 donation from Depp that it appears that they were going to count towards her. Now, this guy just said different, but the paperwork, this email between them and her, it appears that they did. So hopefully what I just read answered the Vanguard question. I mean, what bothers me about this is that she got clout and public attention and public praise for the appearance that she didn't care about the money and was donating half of her divorce settlement. But then, I mean, she even went on to, be a spokesperson for them, so to speak, under what appears to be false pretenses, in my opinion. Like, it came off to society like she was doing this great thing. Not that $350,000 isn't a great thing. I'm just saying it appeared one way, and then it's looking like it was not as it appeared behind the scenes. Okay, so if you go to the website, I have a website and it's thesojofiles.com. And if you get a media subscription, which it's only $5 a month, then you have access to the documents that I'm using for my research. So legal docs or land records or just whatever information I'm using, I want it to be available to you guys so that you can fact check, you can see for yourself, you can read at your own pace or reread when you want to. I know I have some social media content creators on there that use some of my source information to make stuff for their pages or social media platforms. And so I just want everyone to have the information. So for example, like when we cover the West Memphis 3 case, I've got all of my research in there set up in files for y'all. And same with Johnny Depp. I'm adding some. I need to add more today as well, but they're on there for anyone that wants to look at like Depp's legal claim. I think I have Amber Heard's witness list on. There's some good shit on there for anyone that's like into reading documentation. I mean, I think we have a pretty good time. I think the donations are interesting. And yes, the reason why they're bringing this up is because they're wanting to show credibility. They want to show that she lied about the donations, despite the fact that public appearance appeared one way. So this is a strategic move on appearances, essentially, and credibility and character. In my personal opinion, it looks like here's how perception has been or could be manipulated. Now, there is a Shithead Pro membership on there, and that gives you access to the private Instagram account, though I'm not sure how many of y'all will care to have that one because it's 95% Arkansas crime coverage. So that's probably not one that the majority of y'all are going to be interested in, but the media package is great for people wanting to actually see documentation and what I'm using for my sources and what I've gathered for my research when I'm covering a case. I mean, I just think that stuff's important. Like when I hear information from someone, I want to know where they got that information from. I want to know, is it credible? Sometimes I just want to re-look at the documentation myself. And so I treat y'all the way I would want to be treated. And so the files are, again, all of my research. It's literally my files. Anything that's shareable, which with these public cases like this, it all should be. Okay, how did he lose the UK case? So he was suing the Sun for defamation, but the UK media, there's a history with the UK media. I mean, look at their history with the royals. So I was not surprised that he lost that one, to be completely honest. I did say Arkansas. So the Shithead Pro membership, you normally have to have a reference to get on there, though I'm sure there's someone on this thread that's already a Shithead Pro member that will be a reference, Laura. But yes, it's daily crime news reporting for the state of Arkansas. Now there are some other like big stuff on there, like we talked about Murdaugh last night, but it's 95% Arkansas crime news. There are people on there with that membership that do not live in Arkansas that still enjoy the shit show that is Arkansas crime news. But just full transparency, the pro plan is 95% Arkansas crime news. Though with the pro plan, you get to be on the private Instagram page. You get all of the Arkansas crime news plus all of the media resources. With the media plan, you get all of the research, my digital files for the cases that I'm covering on YouTube, TikTok, the podcast, so all social media. Yes, Aaron is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Defamation is hard anyways, but with a public figure, you have the added element of proving malice intent. Really hard. Johnny Depp was suing The Sun, which is it's a publication news source. I'm sure plenty of y'all saw it. Corrine, you followed the Duggar case, so I'm sure you know about The Sun. But they're based out of the UK, and so that's why it was there. He was suing them because after Amber Heard's op-ed piece came out, they wrote an article calling him a wife beater. Let's see. Crystal, that is such a shit show of a case. Oh, it's ridiculous. Did you look online or did you look on the Sojo files for information? I mean, there's like over 15,000 documents. That case, Hot Mess Express, I cannot wait to cover it on here. Aaron for the win. Okay, let me do this. Let's do a banner, shall we? Right here. There we go. Okay, Clint has not made it to 1,000 yet, y'all. I've been trying for weeks to get Clint to 1,000 on TikTok so that he can do lives with me because I was literally FaceTiming him on my iPad and then holding it up to the phone screen so that he could be on FaceTime Live. Whole shit show. We're getting close. We're getting close, but he still needs like 120 more last time I checked. She is said to be taking the stand. When, I have no idea, and if she really will, I do not know, but she is said to be taking the witness stand. Let's see. If you don't know who Clint is, Clint was a witness for the prosecution in the Josh Duggar trial, and he's also a computer genius. We love Clint. He's amazing. He helps us with all of our technical stuff that we need to know and how things work. He's fantastic. He's the computer guy, computer genius. He'll play it down like he's not, but y'all, he is for real.
All right, we ready for the jury? Okay.
Clint just texted me, y'all, LOL.
All right, if you want to continue.
Let's move ahead, please. One, have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
This is a series of communications among people in our communications department around engaging Amber on our programmatic work, specifically relating to her being an ACLU ambassador.
Let's now turn back to the email starting on ACLU 47. Bottom of the page from Gary Johnson to Jody Gottlieb and others.
Yeah.
Reportedly dated November 6, 2018. Who's Jerry Johnson?
Jerry Johnson was a more junior person in our communications department. His title was Communications Department Strategist. And strategists are often communications department associates that have expertise in and do work in a select number of our issue areas.
Okay, he writes, I'd like your and Amber's thoughts on doing an op-ed in which she discusses the ways in which survivors of gender-based violence have been made less safe under the Trump administration and how people can take action. Why was the ACLU recommending that Amber write on that subject?
With Amber agreeing to be an ambassador and to work on women's rights issues and in particular issues of gender-based violence, Jerry was coming up with specific things that were of significant policy importance to the ACLU that could be the subject matter of an op-ed written by Amber.
Directing your attention a few lines down, he uses the acronym GBV. What does that mean?
Gender-based violence.
Then further down, he says, if she feels comfortable, she can interweave her personal story, saying how painful it is as a GBV survivor to witness these setbacks. What is the ACLU referring to when it talks about her personal story?
There were a number of things that Amber had expressed from her personal story about her having been a survivor of gender-based violence. And so one of the things that we do with ambassadors is we want them to tell authentic stories about our issues in the public, and to the extent that they have any personal direct experiences, for that to be part of their story for the public.
So the ACLU was not forcing her to relate her own experience with GBV. It was leaving it up to Ms. Heard's discretion, correct?
Correct.
And Exhibit 31 was prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct.
And it was maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct.
Okay, let's move to Exhibit 33, please. Mr. Doherty, asking you to please look at Exhibit 33 and ask whether you've ever seen this before.
I have.
See the email from Robin Schulman to Jessica Weitz dated November 14th at 10:58 a.m.?
Yes.
Who is Jessica Schulman?
Robin Schulman is a person in the communications department who is no longer with us, but who had expertise in issues involving gender issues.
Well, you anticipated my next question. Is Robin Schulman still at the ACLU?
No.
And is she an attorney?
I don't know whether she's an attorney. A number of our communications department staff members are, but I don't know. She wasn't working as an attorney.
Ms. Schulman is asking Ms. Weitz, what's the status of this situation? What situation was she referring to?
The situation is whether we are going to be doing an op-ed with Amber.
Okay, and moving up on the page, there's an email from Jerry Johnson who says, quote, Jess had drinks with Amber last night, and it sounds like she was able to confirm with her that we'll be doing the first draft.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
It is often a decision has to be made when we're working with ambassadors or with other people who are speaking to the public, who does the first draft of the document. So it sounds here that Jerry is saying that that from Jess's conversation with Amber, we are moving forward with some kind of an op-ed, and that ACLU communications department staff members would be writing the first draft of it.
And Jess refers to Jessica Weitz?
Yes.
Okay, let's please turn to Exhibit 35, please. Have you ever seen this document before, Mr. Doherty?
And yes, I have seen this document. Thanks, Michael. I didn't know.
And what is it?
This is a series of communications about it's the result of a series of communications about the op-ed that Amber, under Amber's name, took place with a media outlet. And so this is Jessica Weitz sending a draft of that to Amber.
Great. And let's go to the first email first. The email that starts in the second half of ACLU 185. It purports to be from Robin Schulman to Jessica White on November 29. Do you see that?
I do.
And is she attaching the first draft of the op-ed to that email?
So I assumed that it was not an attachment, but it was just pasted into an email, but I can't tell from this. I don't see anybody saying attached. So it could be either, but what I see this as is Robin sending a note to Jess Weiss for Jess Weiss to then forward to Amber.
Understood. Robin says, I tried to gather your fire and rage and really interesting analysis and shape that into an op-ed form. What does that refer to?
That refers to the effort for our ACLU ambassadors to speak publicly in a way that is impactful, that is shows the importance of the issues and how important they are personally to individuals. And in this case, therefore, Amber's passion for working on gender-based violence issues and speaking about it, and that she has an analysis that is one that Robin finds interesting.
And so when she's referring to fire and rage, that's Ms. Hurd's fire and rage, correct?
Yeah, that's my read of this, even though I recognize that it is confusing because it's an email from Robin to Jess.
And the rage would be directed against Johnny Depp, who purportedly abused her, correct?
I didn't take it to mean that. I took it to mean fire and rage about gender-based violence issues.
Was it your understanding that it was Robin Schulman who prepared the first draft of the op-ed?
Yes.
Okay. And Robin says to Jessica, your lawyers should review this for the way I skirted around talking about your marriage. Whose lawyers is she referring to there?
I believe these are Amber's regular advisors or who were involved in the review negotiation of the NDA between Amber and Johnny Depp.
That noise is not coming from here. That's the
Look at,
deposition
direct your
video.
attention to the top email from Jess to Jessica White's to Amber Heard. She says to Amber, apologies for the delay, but we have needed to pass this through quite a few lawyers. What lawyers did Jessica White's pass the op-ed through? These
were lawyers in the Women's Rights Project of the ACLU, plus the director of the Center for Liberty, the deputy legal director of the ACLU who runs the Center for Liberty, within which is the Women's Rights Project, and even the legal director of the ACLU who runs the whole legal department, our programmatic litigation work on behalf of civil liberties, David Cole.
But it never got to your level, correct?
Well, David Cole is at my level, just to be clear. He also reports to the executive director, but it never got to me or anybody on my team.
No one asked you to review the first draft of the op-ed?
No.
Did anybody ever ask you to review any drafts of the op-ed, including the final draft that was published in the Washington Post?
No.
She says, I want to make sure nothing was said in here that puts you in jeopardy with your NDA. What does that refer to?
The non-disclosure agreement that was entered into between Depp and Heard in connection with the dissolution of their marriage and the settlement agreement.
Okay, and is this a document that was prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it kept in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
All right, let's move please to Exhibit 37. Have you ever seen Exhibit 37 before?
Yes.
What is it?
This is a draft of the op-ed that Robin is sending to Amber after a conversation that they had to discuss the issues in the op-ed, and in particular, to have a conversation about the op-ed. And then she sends her changes that were made to the op-ed that were relating to things that Robin and Amber discussed during that meeting.
And to be clear, this next draft of the op-ed reflects changes that Robin Schulman made after she met in person with Amber Heard. Is that correct?
Correct.
What did Ms. Schulman and Ms. Heard discuss during their in-person meeting?
My understanding is that they discussed some of the personal experiences that Amber Heard has had that that Robin used to incorporate into the op-ed.
And isn't it true that Ms. Heard's advisors initially revised the draft to remove any reference to Ms. Heard's marriage or divorce?
I recall a number of email communications back and forth among ACLU personnel and Ms. Heard's attorneys where they were suggesting edits to the op-ed relating to matters covered in the NDA.
And then is it also true that there were some at the ACLU who expressed their belief that excising those references to her marriage and divorce from Johnny Depp made the op-ed less impactful, correct?
It is correct. That is correct.
But ultimately, based on those voices, Ms. Heard pushed to get that excised material back into the op-ed so it could be more impactful, true?
That's not my understanding. My understanding is that the language that wound up in the final op-ed piece was very different from the original language that Robin included in the op-ed after having spoken with Amber about her personal experiences.
And how was it different?
It did not refer directly to Ms. Heard's relationship with Johnny Depp.
Okay, let's move ahead, please, to Exhibit 38.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
And is this one of the documents you reviewed in preparation for your deposition?
Yes.
What does this relate to?
So this relates to Stacy Sullivan, who reported to Terry Tang. And her role with respect to this op-ed piece was to think about the best place to place it and to make the contacts with the media in order to get it placed.
And she suggests here that the outlets that the ACLU and Ms. Heard was considering were the New York Times, the Washington Post, Team Vogue, and USA Today. Is that correct?
So not Stacy, but Jerry, who I think you said she, Jerry is a he, and Jerry wrote some suggested places to place this after having had conversations with Amber.
And Jerry's suggestions were the New York Times, Washington Post, Team Vogue, or USA Today, is that correct?
Correct.
Whose responsibility was to place the op-ed? Was it the ACLU's, Ms. Hurd's, or some combination of the two?
The work to place the op-ed was taken on by the ACLU in that we have in our communications department people with expertise and who regularly do just that kind of work. But as we can see from this email, it was done in consultation with Amber Heard.
And Mr. Johnson writes, since the draft turned out pretty strong and Aquaman slated to do large numbers, I'm wondering what you think about it. What does she mean by saying the draft turned out pretty strong?
This appears to be the analysis of how broad-based and how what kind of reach the media outlets where we can place this will have, and that media outlets are more likely to take on publishing an op-ed like this if it is a strong one, and if it is. And to the extent that it is written by a person who's an entertainer or a well-known person, that the more they are in the public eye at the time, the more likely it will be accepted by a more prominent or broader reach media outlet. And so that's the sort of descending media outlets are in descending terms in terms of descending, likelihood of, descending importance and reach, but greater likelihood from, for example, as we go down.
Amber is referencing her own direct personal experience, and her marriage to Johnny Depp makes it a stronger product, correct?
I think that the Amber's contributions to the portion of the op-ed that talks about personal experiences is part of what informed the view that this was a strong op-ed, and the importance of the women's rights issues referred to in the op-ed, in that some of them were very timely women's rights issues before Congress.
And Ms. Heard had a co-starring role in Aquaman, correct?
I don't know whether she was a co-star, but I know that that was a film that she was in.
And didn't she tell the ACLU that she wanted the op-ed to come out just after Aquaman was released?
I do recall that there was a conversation about the optimal timing for the op-ed piece.
And as part of that conversation, Ms. Heard said in words or substance that she wanted the op-ed to come out soon after Aquaman, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Who did she relate that to?
I don't recall, although I believe that there's documents that we produced that can shed some light on that.
Is Exhibit 38 kept in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it prepared by people with knowledge and prepared in a contemporaneous manner?
Yes, it was.
And it was made in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, true?
True.
Okay, if we could move ahead, please, to Exhibit 41. It's another one of these, well, it's not that long.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
These are further communications among employees, staff members in the development department regarding the placement of Amber's ad and the finalization of the op-ed piece, not ad, I'm sorry, op-ed and the finalization of it.
Great, and if we could move ahead, please, to ACLU 257. And specifically the email from Robin Schulman to Jessica Weeks on December 11th, continuing on to the next, or strike that. Let's go to the email on the last line, Jessica Weiss's email. She says, team.
What's the timestamp? What's the timestamp on the email that you're referring to?
I'm sorry. This is December 11th email at 11:05 a.m.
Okay.
Jessica Weeks. You see that? Okay. And she says, Amber sent back the op-ed with final edits from her legal team, which specifically neutered much of the copy regarding her marriage and the domestic violence. Do you see that?
I do.
Is that consistent with your recollection?
I'm not sure about the use of the term neutered here, but I do know that her lawyers removed references to her marriage and divorce.
And then she writes, the goal is to get this out this week to capitalize on the tremendous campaign for Aquaman. What does that mean?
That means, from the ACLU's perspective, that Amber is about to receive an incredible amount of press and be in the public eye. So what better a time would it be than now to put out this op-ed so that it generates significant readership about our issues?
And Amber agreed with the ACLU on that point, correct?
I believe the answer is yes. Every step of the way we were making these decisions with Amber's PR representatives involved.
Okay, let's move back to an email in the middle of 257.
Okay.
And it is from Jessica Weeks, timestamped 11:09 a.m. on December 11th, 2018.
Okay.
Robin, her lawyers omitted the below, but Amber would love to see a way to have that part in bold somehow put back in. Is there an artful way to do that? Otherwise, she is okay with the final. 2 years ago, I sought a temporary restraining order from my then husband. Ellipses was changed to 2 years ago after successfully acquiring a temporary restraining order, but still not cleared by her lawyers. Do you see that?
I do.
Was that consistent with your understanding about what Ms. Hurd's desires were?
Yeah, I trust Jessica White's relationship with Amber so that when Jessica told Robin that that was something Amber wanted, I have no reason to think that that's not correct.
Okay, and finally, let's look at the beginning. The first email, Exhibit 41, from Stacy Sullivan to Jessica Weeks. Says, yes, and I need to read the latest version. And Robin told me Amber's lawyers took out some of the stuff that made it really powerful. So let me look to see if I think it's strong enough for top tier. What did she mean by top tier?
I think from Stacy's perspective, the more powerful a document is, the more likely it will go into a top tier news outlet such as the New York Times or the Washington Post, you know, that sort of descending tiering that was in Jerry Johnson's email.
Okay. And is Exhibit 41 kept in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business by people having knowledge and done so contemporaneously?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's move ahead to 43.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Okay. Directing your attention to the first page in Exhibit 43 from Jessica Weeks to Sean Walsh. Who is Sean Walsh?
Sean Walsh at www.consulting.com. I don't know who that is. This is an email that includes in it people other than ACLU employees and ACLU consultants. So I'm assuming it's somebody relating to, one of Amber's representatives, but I don't know for sure.
Do you know who Eric George is?
Yeah, George, BGR firm. Yes, Eric George was one of Amber's attorneys.
And she's announcing to the group that it's going to the Washington Post, a triple exclamation points.
Correct.
Take it the ACLU was pleased that it was placed in the Washington Post.
Correct.
And I believe you testified earlier, but I just want to confirm for the record, the ACLU took on the responsibility of attempting to place the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
And why the ACLU instead of Amber or her PR team?
Placing op-eds about matters such as this is the kind of thing that is the bread and butter for the ACLU. And so I don't recall if a conversation happened about whether her PR people or our PR people should be in the ones that do the work to place this, but it is fully consistent with how we do our work that we placed this one.
All right, let's
Back to Exhibit 42, if you don't mind.
Mr. Stanley.
Have you ever seen this document before, Mr. Doherty?
I am familiar with this document.
Is this one of the documents you've reviewed in preparation for this deposition today?
Yes.
Was it made in the ordinary course of ACLU's business by people having knowledge and doing so contemporaneously?
Correct, yes.
Was it maintained by the ACLU in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
Would you please direct your attention, sir, to page number 1181. In the middle of the page purports to be an email from Stacy Sullivan, Michael Larrabee, and others at the Washington, well, I'll just say Michael Larrabee. Who is Michael Larrabee?
Michael Larrabee appears to be a person who was a contact that Stacy Sullivan had at the Washington Post. And so she reached out to him first about placing the ad. And then because she received a bounce back out of office from Mike Larrabee, she sent her original request to Michael Duffy and Mark Laswell, also at Washington Post.
And what was the purpose of her sending them this email?
This was her attempt to get the op-ed placed.
And she writes, "Hey, Michael, wondering if we might interest you in a piece by Amber Heard, who, as you may recall, was beaten up during her brief marriage to Johnny Depp, on what the incoming Congress can do to help protect women in similar situations." Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you read it correctly.
All right, let's look, please. Let's turn to Exhibit 73.
Mr. Standby.
Doherty, have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
Is this the online copy of the op-ed that the ACLU placed
Yes.
Directing your attention to the title, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. Who came up with that title?
Based on my investigation, I'm not aware of I'm not aware that the ACLU had any role in writing the name of the op-ed piece. And my understanding of how op-ed pieces work is that it is the media, in this case, the Washington Post, would have drafted the name of the title of the op-ed and not the person who wrote the op-ed.
Did the Washington Post seek the ACLU's or Ms. Heard's approval of its title?
I believe the answer to that is no. There's nothing in the evidence that shows that they reached out to us to do that, and it is inconsistent with my understanding in that these news outlets do not usually ask for the permission of the author of the op-ed for when they come up with the title.
Hello, Mr. Doherty, would you please, or would the technician please call up Exhibit 45?
Yes, sir. Stand by.
I know. Sorry for the noise, guys. Sorry.
Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen Plaintiff's Exhibit 45, which is Bates number ACLU 623?
Hold on, I'm just making it a little bigger. Okay, yes, I have seen this document.
And is this one of the documents you reviewed in preparation for your deposition?
That's correct.
And what is it?
This is an article that was in US Today and specifically ties Amber's statements in her op-ed piece to Johnny Depp.
And when Jessica White says so much for not mentioning JD, what did she mean?
I speculate that she was saying that there were significant efforts made by Amber's attorneys to take out the references to Johnny Depp and her marriage, and yet nonetheless, people made that connection.
And in particular, the reporter for the USA Today took her to be referring to Johnny Depp when she spoke of being the victim of domestic violence, correct?
Correct.
Was this document prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business contemporaneously about people having knowledge?
Yes, it was.
Was it maintained by the ACLU in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
And would you please move ahead now to Exhibit 46?
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Story of my life, y'all. For real.
Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen Exhibit 46, which is ACLU
This is fucking
page
hysterical.
number 1287?
Yes.
What is it?
This
That was the
is
deposition, I swear.
Statement by Robin Schulman saying that that the article that they're referring to basically, recasts everything that is said, but ties it to Johnny Depp.
So Ms. Schulman is agreeing with Mrs. White's characterization that the USA took Ms. Heard to be referring to her allegations of physical violence by Johnny Depp, correct?
Yes.
And she says it's kind of amazing that they just grabbed the entire op-ed and rewrote it using Johnny's name. Why was it amazing?
I don't know why she found it amazing.
Because that was consistent with your understanding. She was referring at least in part to Johnny Depp, correct?
Based on my review of prior drafts of the op-ed, I knew that they were that she was referring to Johnny Depp and her marriage.
Was Exhibit 46 prepared in the ordinary course of business by people having knowledge contemporaneously?
Yes.
Was it maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Okay, let's move to Exhibit 59, please, which is Bates numbers ACLU 2614 through 2616.
Okay.
Have you ever seen this document before?
Scroll to the beginning. Yes.
And what is it?
This is a conversation among ACLU employees.
We're working on the crime
regarding
cave.
what
I'm so
were
sorry.
the amounts contributed to the ACLU that were connected to our relationship with Ms. Heard.
And is this Exhibit 59 kept in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
And it was prepared contemporaneously by people with knowledge in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct.
And looking at the chart on ACLU 2615, this is the same contributions chart that you testified about earlier from Salesforce, correct?
Correct.
And again, as in the prior exhibit, this chart or ledger does not reflect the $100,000 contribution from Johnny Depp in Amber Heard's name in August of 2016, correct?
Correct.
And you still can't account for why that wouldn't have been included.
We assume that there was an error made in not including that in Ms. Heard's account, where we keep the records of her in Salesforce. Although Anthony, as you see, then raised the very question, what about the $100,000?
And directing your attention to the first page in this exhibit, do you see the email from Mr. Romero to Mr. Moresco? Subject, a quick question. Mr. Romero asked, did Elon's other gifts come from Vanguard? To what does that refer?
My personal knowledge is that Anthony was just asking whether other gifts from Elon Musk had been issued from recommendations he made to Vanguard regarding his donor advised fund at Vanguard.
And Mr. Moresco then responds, one of them, yes. His $5 million gift in February 2017 was from Vanguard. Do you see that?
I see it.
And if you look at the next page, Vanguard was the same entity that made the soft credit contribution in Amber Heard's name to the tune of $500,000, correct?
Correct.
And he says, in any case, my understanding was that the $500,000 from Vanguard was recommended by EM. You see that?
Yes.
And EM stands for Elon Musk, correct?
Correct.
And also in that email above that, Mr. Moresco states that Mr. Musk's $1 million gift in May 2018 was from Fidelity. Do you see that?
Thank you
Yes,
so
he
much.
must have,
Thank you.
Either that means
I did get him
a
muffins
separate
this
donor
morning.
advised fund he has at Fidelity, or from Fidelity in direct investment accounts he has at Fidelity. I'm assuming the former, but I don't know.
I swear I'm
And
so
if you look
thankful.
at the next page.
I know
in,
it's loud, but
the Salesforce
necessary.
chart, the second payment credited to Ms. Hurd for $350,000 as of December 11th, 2018 came from that same Fidelity, correct?
I don't know the answer to that question. I know that it came from a Fidelity donor advised fund, the $350,000, but I don't know if it is Elon Musk's donor advised fund at Fidelity.
But it could be.
It could be.
Okay, let's move, thank you, on to 61, please. Which is Bates number ACLU 1669 through 71.
That's what our heads sound like, banging on the table listening to this shit, I swear.
Directing your attention to the last email in this exhibit from Jill Sargent to Inga Sarda Sorensen and Tyler Richard. Who were Inga Sarda Sorensen and Tyler Richard?
Inga and Tyler are both senior communications department strategists in our communications department.
Okay. And Ms. Sargent from Reuters asked, I'm preparing some material while awaiting a verdict in the Johnny Depp libel trial in London and wanted to fact check Amber Heard's current previous links with the ACLU. Do you recall that Mr. Depp's that this is a reference to Mr. Depp's defamation case in the UK against the Sun?
Y'all, that pocket square.
It appears to me that that's the trial she's referring to.
Okay, directing your attention, please, to page number ACLU 1670, the email from Jessica Whites to Tyler Richards. Do you see where Ms. Whites writes, the answer is yes, she's still an ambassador. That's a reference to Ms. Heard still being an ACLU ambassador, correct?
Correct.
Then Ms. Whites writes, quote, she donated her full settlement to charity, 50% to the ACLU and 50% to another organization. That's a reference to Ms. Heard's representation that she donated the full amount of her divorce settlement from Johnny Depp to charity, correct?
Correct.
And that statement was not true. She had not donated the full amount of her settlement, $7 million, to the ACLU or the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, correct?
I wish they would play these depositions and fast forward at 2 times speed.
Ms. Heard had not donated her full settlement to the ACLU, and I'm not aware of what she did to the other organization.
At the time Ms. Whites wrote that, the ACLU was still $2.2 million short, even if you credit Ms. Heard with the $100,000 that Johnny Depp gave to the ACLU, correct?
At the time that she wrote this, we had received the 1.3, so yes, 2.2 million of the full 3.5 million we had not received.
Was Exhibit 61.
He was looking paranoid on that one.
ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it prepared in the ordinary course of the business by people having knowledge contemporaneously?
Yes.
Okay, let's move to Exhibit 62, please. Have you seen this document before?
That's insane.
Yes.
What is it?
This is Jessica White's reaching out to the communications department in order to come up with a correct statement that we could make in response to the Reuters article. And she comes up with recommended language on this that she then wants to confirm with our development department. So she is doing diligence to ensure that anything we say to the media is going to be correct.
Let's move ahead to Exhibit 63. Do you have that in front of you?
I'm just making it larger right now, it just arrived.
You ever seen this document before?
Yes,
What is it?
this is back and forth between Richard Tyler in the communications department, Jessica Whites, and another communications department junior person, Ava Lopez. And it all concerns what we can say to, what we should say to Reuters in response to their question about Amber and her contributions to the ACLU.
And this was prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct.
And it was prepared and maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, true?
True. Correct.
Let's look at the second page of the exhibit, an email from Tyler Richard to Jessica Whites.
Mhm.
Who is Tyler Richard?
It's Richard Tyler, and it's Tyler Richard. That's right, Tyler Richard, and he is a senior person in our communications department.
And Mr. Richard says, Amber Heard is an ACLU ambassador for women's rights since 2018. She also pledged her full settlement to charity. Do you see that?
I do.
And Ms. White responds, yeah, I think that's safer. I had nightmares about this last night. I'm very upset. Do you think this is okay? Why was Ms. White so upset about the characterization of Ms. Heard's charitable donations or lack thereof?
My understanding is that as a communications department professional, Jessica was concerned about these news articles that were appearing and what impact they would have on, how the ACLU and its work with Amber is seen.
She was concerned that the ACLU was not telling the truth about Amber's paying the $3.5 million, correct?
I don't see it that way. I see it as her doing everything she can in order to produce a correct statement to the press.
Wouldn't the correct statement to the press be that she's short $2.3 million?
As I testified earlier, that's not the kind of thing that we would ever say about a donor to the ACLU. Instead, we would, especially when it isn't the fact that there was any specific time period by which we were supposed to have received, any specific amount of money, considering that she didn't sign the pledge agreement, and therefore, there's an attempt to, so as an organization, we attempt to work with our donors who are having financial difficulties in order to receive, the funding from them that they want to give to us. So no, I don't see this. I don't know. We would, in that sort of scenario, we would never say she's short anything.
Directing your attention to the email at page number ACLU 1700 from Ms. Whites to Mr. Richard, dated July 31. She says, I'm just stressed about her and the difficulties with all this. Who is her?
Assume that is Amber Heard.
Why was
You
Ms.
assume.
White stressed about Amber Heard?
Let me find this
is a
document.
stressful thing to have these kinds of news reports out there, and in particular about an ACLU ambassador.
What kind of news reports are you referring to?
What I believe the Reuters article, from the Reuters article.
And what did the news article say that was distressing?
I think it was the tie between the attempts to make Ms. Heard look poorly in the press regarding her donations.
But did you talk to Ms. Whites in preparation for this deposition?
Yes, I did.
What did she tell you about the donations and how she was stressed about Ms. Heard?
Ms. White's didn't say anything specific about that.
You didn't ask her about why she said she was stressed about Amber Heard and the difficulties with all this?
I believed in reviewing the documents that I had an understanding of why this was a difficult situation for many people.
So the answer is you didn't ask her about that, did you?
I did not ask her that
I
question.
guess we'll have to. Did you ask her about the nightmares she had about Amber Heard and why she had what the substance of her nightmares were about Amber Heard?
No, I did not.
Your Honor, counsel for Ms. Heard is now taking over the question.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, guys.
Exhibit number 1, this is page down 2866. It was introduced as well by counsel for Mr. Depp, but it's easier for me to just jump into this one. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
It says here, Amber described your plan to donate $3.5 million to ACLU over the next 10 years, as you very much believe in what they're doing. Now, the way in which donate is used here, how would you interpret that?
I would say that at the very least, it is expressing an intention to make that donation
And
by
it's,
the term plan.
and would you distinguish between donate and pledge given the reference to the next 10 years?
About Elon Musk's intention?
I would read this to mean that it isn't clear whether this is intended to be a pledge, a legally binding pledge to create a receivable. This is something that I would want to, I would hope would be a legally binding pledge, but I wouldn't necessarily say that this was.
And the term donate here, how would you interpret that based on the description you gave a little earlier?
I would take donate to mean contributions from Ms. Heard.
And what, if any, interpretation would you have that this also meant pledge?
So two things in response to your question. One is plan to donate. When I said it would come from Ms. Heard, I would think that would be either Ms. Heard directly or from a donor advised fund that she has set up and would recommend. But over the next 10 years makes me think that, donate could theoretically be a pledge, but that's something that we would want to attempt to confirm.
And just so I understand, what's the difference between donate and pledge and how you are interpreting this?
If this used the word pledge instead, I would have more assurance that this was intended to be a hard and fast promise that even could potentially be a legally binding promise.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as defendant's exhibit number 2. Do you recognize this document? It's page 2632.
I do recognize this document.
And what is your understanding of what this is?
That this is the cover letter to which the check for $100,000 was attached, which related to Johnny Depp's contribution to the ACLU in the name of Amber Heard.
Now, you used the term binding a few times here in responding to these. What is your distinction with the words pledge and donate that relates specifically to binding?
A pledge is, if something is legally binding, it is a pledge, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody that uses the term pledge means something that's legally binding. Donate is a much, much broader term.
And donate can mean pledge?
Yeah, I think that the word donate can be used in connection with a pledge.
Do you have any understanding of what Amber Heard believed was a pledge versus a donation?
I don't know.
Did the ACLU have any reason to believe that Amber Heard would not pay the ACLU $3.5 million?
I think that everybody at the ACLU was the ACLU was hoping and expecting that the full 3.5 million would be paid to the ACLU. The fact that the pledge form wasn't signed was, cast some potential doubt on that. And then when Ms. Hurd began having financial difficulties, we obviously recognized that might impact whether the full 3.5 million is paid or impact whether it's paid over a much longer period of time in some intermittent way.
Do you have any evidence to suggest that Amber Heard still does not intend to pay the ACLU the full 3.5 million?
I have based on my investigation, I'm not aware of any indication that Ms. Heard has decided to no longer pay additional amounts to the ACLU.
I'm going to ask you, bring up number 4, please. I'm going to ask you to take a look at this document, and it starts out at the bottom with Amber on October 17, 2016 to ARP. Who's that?
That's Anthony Romero's private email, Anthony Romero private.
All right, and she's telling him to go ahead and still ready to cash Mr. Depp's check. Do you see that?
I do.
And then Mr. Romero responds to her, says, thank you for the response. We will cash the check. But that means you have, quote, overpaid for this year, as you wired $350,000 and then $100,000 from Mr. Depp. So you can keep track of where you are on the overall amounts. Do you see that?
I do.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as deposition defendant's exhibit number 14, and it's base stamp ACLU 2588 through 89. And this is, and I realize there was a version of this that Mr. Hugh showed you, but this includes an email from Mr. Romero to Jonathan Moresco, and Mr. Moresco to Mr. Romero with a copy of my year. And it says here, hi Anthony, if you get a chance on Sunday, can you please check in with Amber on her next pledge payment? She has a balance of 2.55 million on her 350,000 10-year pledge. Below is a summary of her other payments. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay, and so this has the 500,000 and the 350,000 and the 100,000 now, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that was September 28, 2018. I'm going to show you what has been marked as defendant's exhibit number 15. It's base stamp 2595, and I'm going to make it larger. And if I can show you, we have an email from Mr. Romero saying, is there anything I can do to help facilitate pledge payment of 350,000? And it's dated November 27, 2018. Do you see that?
I do.
All right. And then Amber comes back on 11/29 and says, hang on, I'll be right with you. You see that?
Correct. Yeah, I see it.
Okay. And then the $350,000 payment came in on December 11, 2018, correct?
Correct.
All right. And that made it the total of what, 1.3 million we've decided, right? What was the total amount of the donations after the 12/11/2018 that were made towards Ms. Heard's $3.5 million pledge to ACLU?
1.3 million.
All right. Now, if Ms. Heard had just given $350,000 each year, what would the amount have been as of December 2018?
1,550,000. It would be 350,000, 350,000, 350,000. So that's 1,050,000.
Okay. And so she was effectively 250,000 ahead of that as of December 2018, correct?
Objection.
After Mr. Depp filed suit against Amber Heard on March 1, 2019, what, if any, payments did Ms. Heard make to the ACLU towards her $3.5 million pledge?
No additional payments.
No, this was also shown to you by Mr. Chu on one of his documents. It's ACLU document 3037, the 12/11/2018 $350,000 donation from Amber Heard Anonymous. Do you see that?
I do.
Now, the ACLU continues to recognize Amber Heard as an ambassador for the ACLU. Is that correct?
We do. She continues to be listed on our website.
Can a donor deduct a donation before they actually make the payment to the ACLU?
No. Yeah, a deduction cannot be taken prior to when the deduction is made. The deduction is taken with respect to a tax year, so the deduction would have to be made within a tax year in order for it to be deducted that year.
Okay. Now, you also testified earlier about different sources of donations, and you said that someone can make a donation in honor to fulfill someone else's pledge. Do you recall that testimony?
A person can make a donor in honor of someone else. And when I said in honor of a person, I was more referring to, in memory of a person or in honor of, a new executive director of an organization. People make donations in honor of them. But a person certainly can make a gift and say that I would like to make this gift to the organization because I know that this other person has committed something to the organization and I'd like to pay that amount. A person can do that.
Now, was it your understanding with the letter from Mr. White that Mr. Depp was making a $100,000 payment on behalf of Amber Heard towards her $3.5 million pledge?
Yes, that gift from was in connection with the amounts that Amber had said that she wanted to contribute to the organization.
All right, and it's been your testimony, I think, that there was an error in not including.
So you can see Johnny Depp.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now,
this is who filed it, petitioner, respondents.
Made the $500,000 payment towards Amber Heard's $3.5 million pledge.
Yes, we don't know that with absolute certainty, but that is our organization's understanding.
Okay. And you credited it towards Ms. Heard's pledge, correct?
Right here.
Yes.
Does it matter to the ACLU where it comes from if it's tagged and said it's as part of this person's pledge?
We're always happy to receive.
Screenshot this real quick if y'all want to read this. Keep reading this. Screenshot this real quick.
Unable to make a contribution of an amount that they said they intended to make. If they're able to have someone else make a contribution to the organization, that's completely fine by us.
It's still more money to ACLU, correct?
Correct.
And it's towards a pledge that you're hoping you can count on, correct?
Toward a pledge in the weak form of it, which is that somebody's making an intention. It would not be able to be satisfied in connection with a legally binding pledge.
Well, you did credit the $500,000 towards Amber Heard's pledge, correct?
Yes, we did.
And although we didn't initially credit a $100,000 payment by Mr. Depp towards her pledge, you agree that that should have been credited towards Amber Heard's pledge as well, correct?
Correct.
Now, we saw a document that Mr. Chu showed you a short while ago that indicated that Elon Musk made some other significant contributions, including $1 million and $5 million that were separate and apart from the $500,000, correct? Is that correct? Okay. Now, Mr. Chu asked you if the ACLU benefited from the fact that Amber Heard pledged or donated the $3.5 million. And I think your answer was that you benefit whenever there's donations made and the publicity associated with it. What, if any, benefit would the ACLU have had if Amber Heard pledged or donated $1.3 million as opposed to $3.5 million?
If I understand your question correctly, I think that it is always a positive thing to report on donations made to the ACLU.
Mr. Dougherty.
I'll add all that on there.
Testified to a number of documents about the op-ed and the back and forth with the attorneys and everything else. Are you aware of any evidence at any stage of the op-ed drafts through publication that Amber Heard did not rely on her counsel's advice?
From what I know, Ms. Heard involved her attorneys and made changes to the op-ed based on the advice of her attorneys.
And so my question is, are you aware of any evidence that would suggest that Amber Heard did not rely on the advice of her attorneys?
Based on my investigation, I'm not aware of a situation where she did not rely on her attorneys.
Thank you. And I'm going to make a reference to their exhibit number 31. This is, it's just called exhibit 31, Mr. Troopert again. Jerry Johnson was writing an email, and he listed a number of topics. Was it your understanding that the ACLU chose a number of those topics, of course, subject to Amber's approval, but it was their idea on some of these issues to address in the op-ed?
My understanding is that those were ACLU issues that Jerry Johnson came up with that might have been issues that could be covered in the op-ed.
All right. I assume for your next witness is a remote witness, correct? And I assume it'll take longer than 30 minutes. Is that a fair assumption?
Yes, that's right, Your Honor.
Yeah, I think it'll take a little longer.
All right. I think what I proposed, and ladies and gentlemen, what I might have you do is take an extended lunch till 2:30 because I have an obligation at 2. So then that means though that we would go through till 5:30 tonight. Is that agreeable with everybody on the jury? Is that agreeable with everybody here? All right, let's go ahead and do that. Then let's go ahead and give you a lunch break until 2:30, okay? Just do not discuss the case and do not do any outside research, okay? Thank you.
Okay, so let's go over and hash out some things before we take our lunch break. What you got for me? I added that documentation about her donation to the website. And I will add a copy of his check as well as some other things. Let's see what all I have for that. So for the paperwork for the donations, I have, let's see here. Okay. I have screenshots from the legal filings so that you guys can see like what matters and not dig through 80 pages. I have what I just showed y'all about how much they're claiming it took to produce the documents. I have emails between Amber Heard and ARP at ACLU.org. I have another email that's going to be included in that. I have the pledge form that will be on the website as well. Some other emails, and I do believe that I had a picture of the check on here. Let's see. But do we have any other questions? Do we have any questions before we break for lunch? I mean, they're really trying to make it seem like it's not as bad as it is. Like, is anyone hurt if she only gave 1.5? Well, no, it's 1.5 million they didn't have, but like, she didn't come out and say like, sorry, I got into some financial issues, I can't do that. They kind of played it as is. I'm trying to see what else I have. I think I have a copy of that check, y'all. I'm looking. But I'm pretty sure I have a copy of that check. And you can link the check back to him by the names and the organizations on there. It's not going to actually be like signed by Elon. Does she really? Okay, Nick said, did you see my question? Let me see. Are you the one asking about rewards? That's hilarious that she has a graduation in the middle of this. This right here, yes, Laura, yes. Laura for the win, y'all. All right, any other questions before we break for lunch? We have a long lunch today, so you know I'm going to have to make that mega pint coffee, all that good stuff. Hopefully we won't have any more technical difficulties, God willing. But we are, okay, so 2:30. They're doing an extra long lunch break because the judge has a graduation to attend. I hope that's virtual, but yeah, so the lunch will be over at 2:30. But so we'll be back 1:30 my time. 2:30. I don't know where everybody is, but 1:30 Arkansas time. 2:30 Virginia time. And yes, if you are a media member on the website, then you can go look at some of the documents that I posted on here earlier, and I will continue to add on there so you guys can see that. I'll find the picture of the check. I know I have it because I used it on TikTok and put it on there as well so that you guys can see all that. I also think that the emails that I posted on there and that we read earlier, just how they talk to each other is interesting. I'm just going to put that out there. Just going to put that out there. And girl, you know I got to go get me a Dr. Pepper. You know I do. That's happening right the fuck now. So, okay. We shall reconvene at 1:30 or 2:30, depending on where you're located. So everyone go get yourself some caffeine, some lunch, and we shall reconvene for this situation. I will see y'all in 1.5.